Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the show dedicated to giving you the blueprint for optimized health, vitality, and living at peak performance, no matter what the calendar says.
hmm
For many of us, especially as we move past our 30s, the mission isn't just about, you know, looking good.
Not at all.
It's about feeling dynamic and resilient and maintaining that powerful, functional health we all associate with being younger.
That's right. If you feel like you're doing everything right, you're exercising, you're trying to eat well, but the energy dips are constant.
Yeah, that afternoon crash.
That crash, the weight is stubborn, and you just feel older than you should, you are probably experiencing what experts call metabolic gridlock.
Metabolic gridlock.
Yeah, the whole system is just jammed.
So our mission today is tailored precisely for you. We've synthesized a massive stack of sources spanning cutting-edge research on aging, the biochemical realities of our modern food supply,
That is a huge one.
and the crucial difference between merely eating a nutrient and your body actually absorbing it.
Wait.
We are searching for the cheat codes to unlock a 30-something metabolism, regardless of your chronological age.
And this means we have to move beyond simplistic advice. Eat less, move more.
Not enough.
It's not enough. We need to unpack the key factors that govern how your body uses fuel, this vital concept known as metabolic flexibility, and then identify the priority nutrients the standard environment is robbing you of.
Okay.
We have to stop thinking about diet as just counting calories and start focusing on optimizing the internal machinery.
Exactly. We're going to spend some serious time looking at the molecular pathways that are the real targets of anti-aging science
And the practical lifestyle changes.
and the practical changes that can reverse decades of systemic strain. We need to secure that long-term functional health. So let's start with the root of the problem, the modern food environment, and specifically the silent toxic substance that is causing all this metabolic inflexibility. Okay, let's unpack this core concept. Metabolic flexibility. Sounds sophisticated, but it really speaks to a very simple, almost primal reality about how our bodies evolved.
It really does.
Our sources highlight that our physiology was built during times of dramatic fluctuation. You were either feasting on a successful hunt or you were fasting, maybe even starving, while you searched for the next one.
That history is absolutely key to understanding our current malfunction. Metabolic flexibility is just the body's ability to efficiently adapt its metabolism based on energy supply.
So food coming in or not,
Exactly. Fasting or feeding. And then energy demand.
meaning rest or exercise.
Right. Think of it like the ultimate operating system update that allows you to seamlessly switch between burning glucose, sugar, and burning fatty acids, or fat, for energy.
A healthy, youthful metabolism can do that just on a dime.
Quickly and efficiently. That's the key.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the modern era just throws this ancient system into complete chaos.
Complete chaos is the right word.
We have an unprecedented, near-continuous food supply, often calorically dense, processed, combined with chronic physical inactivity.
Right.
We are constantly in a state of feasting without ever having to hunt.
And that combination is lethal to flexibility. It creates that metabolic gridlock we mentioned.
So the system just gets stuck in one gear.
It gets stuck. If you are constantly supplying energy, particularly this highly available, dense, processed fuel, the body loses the machinery required for adaptation.
It never needs to switch to its secondary fuel tank, the fat stores.
Never. So that ability just withers away, and this inflexibility is characterized by distorted nutrient sensing and what's called blunted substrate switching.
And that's the root cause.
That is the functional root cause underlying the epidemic of metabolic disease, from type 2 diabetes to cardiovascular issues.
Okay, so if metabolic inflexibility is the big problem that accelerates aging, what's the primary fuel source driving that dysfunction?
Right.
Our sources single out one particular chemical structure as the modern villain, and they use a phrase that really sticks with you. They call fructose alcohol without the buzz.
And that comparison is deeply, deeply rooted in biochemistry, specifically the liver's role in all of this.
Okay, so explain that. What's the difference between, say, glucose and fructose?
The key difference is how they're metabolized. Glucose can be used by nearly every cell in the body for immediate energy, and its entry into most cells is regulated by insulin. Fructose is different.
Yeah.
It is preferentially metabolized by the liver. So when you consume a concentrated bolus of fructose, think of a 32-ounce soda or a massive fruit juice.
Yeah.
It bypasses the normal, tightly regulated mechanisms of glucose metabolism, and it heads straight to the liver for processing.
And what happens when the liver gets slammed with that huge load of fructose all at once?
It kicks off a process called hepatic de novo lipogenesis.
Yeah.
De novo lipogenesis, which is a crucial technical distinction. It means new fat creation.
So it's not just storing fat that you ate.
No. The liver, completely overwhelmed by this rapid influx of fructose, converts that excess sugar directly into saturated fatty acids. It is synthesizing brand new fat molecules from sugar. And this results in a very rapid accumulation of fat inside the liver.
And this isn't just some abstract concept for adults struggling with their weight. The data shows this is a full-blown pediatric crisis.
It is deeply alarming. High fructose intake is strongly linked to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD.
Right.
For a long time, fatty liver was associated almost exclusively with excessive alcohol consumption. Now, this non-alcoholic version is estimated to be as common as asthma in children.
That is a shocking statistic.
And it's fueled overwhelmingly by dietary habits. When we look at the clinical evidence, the immediate toxic impact of liquid fructose becomes just undeniable.
Do you elaborate on that clinical finding? That's really where the rubber meets the road.
Yes. So researchers studied a group of adolescent boys who had confirmed NAFLD. They put these boys on a diet low in free sugar content for just 8 weeks.
And this wasn't about cutting calories overall.
No, the intervention wasn't calorie restriction. It was specifically the removal of high fructose components. So soft drinks, fruit juices, added sugars.
And the results?
They were dramatic. Significant improvement in liver fat content and inflammation markers in less than 2 months. This shows that the liver damage is highly reversible when you remove the specific dietary trigger, the liquid concentrated fructose.
Which brings us to a major dietary misconception, something that derails a lot of people who are trying to eat what they think is healthy, and that's the modern fruit basket. We are told, eat fruits, but the fruits available to us today are fundamentally different from what our ancestors encountered.
That's a critical evolutionary and agricultural context. Our ancestors consumed fruits that were seasonal, often much smaller. They contained way more fiber and were usually less sweet, sometimes even bitter.
Like wild apples or ancient berries.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with modern commercial fruits. The huge, often seedless grapes, the enormous bananas, the super sweet mangoes, all of them have been selectively bred over generations for maximum sugar content and yield.
So even someone eating what they believe is a moderate diet, but maybe they're drinking smoothies loaded with these commercial fruits,
Right.
or constantly snacking on them, is unintentionally increasing their fatty liver risk because of that high concentrated fructose load.
Exactly. When you juice or blend a large quantity of this modern fruit, you concentrate the sugar and you remove the satiety signals and much of the fiber that would naturally slow down its absorption.
So you're basically mainlining the sugar.
You're delivering a DNL-triggering dose of fructose to the liver, leading to the same adverse effects we see from sodas, albeit maybe a little less dramatically.
So the recommended action for biooptimization, for resetting that metabolism, is a crystal clear starting point. Eliminate liquid fructose entirely. That means sodas, iced teas with added sugar, and especially all fruit juices. And then you have to consciously limit the high-sugar commercial fruits.
And we also need to look at the broader environment of the standard diet, because beyond fructose, the U.S. diet has a clear set of what they call nutrients of concern that get in the way of healthy 30-something aging.
And they're typically all found together in processed foods.
Usually, yes.
So what are those top 3 components we need to aggressively manage?
Well, they are added sugars, which we've covered pretty extensively, then saturated fat, and sodium.
Okay, let's talk about saturated fat.
Its primary danger to long-term health is its role in cardiovascular disease risk. High intake raises total cholesterol and, critically, your LDL levels, the low-density lipoprotein.
The bad cholesterol.
The bad cholesterol, exactly. High LDL contributes directly to the plaque buildup process, atherosclerosis, which narrows arteries and increases the risk of heart attack and stroke.
And the guidelines recommend keeping it under, what, 10% of calories?
Under 10% of total daily calories, a benchmark that many American diets just blow past routinely.
And the third major concern is sodium.
Right. Increased sodium consumption elevates blood pressure. High blood pressure, or hypertension, forces the heart to work harder to pump blood through the body. Over time, this chronic strain damages blood vessels.
leading to all sorts of problems.
All sorts of problems: heart disease, stroke, kidney problems. So to reset your metabolism and secure that robust, resilient health, you have to aggressively manage all three of these.
Which really means eliminating the hyperpalatable, ultra-processed foods that contain high concentrations of all three at the same time.
That's the main delivery vehicle.
So step one is essentially clearing the metabolic backlog and removing the junk fuel, particularly the liquid sugars, the high saturated fat, and the excessive sodium to stop the liver from constantly making new fat.
Right. Stop the damage.
Now let's move to step two, actively training the body to regain that crucial metabolic flexibility we lose as we age.
So if step one was detoxification, step two is all about recalibration.
I like that.
And the phenomenal thing about metabolic flexibility is that it's not a fixed trait. It can be trained.
So you can get it back.
You can get it back. While it naturally declines with age, it's negatively correlated with longevity. Physical inactivity is the single primary cause of its accelerating decline. This means movement is the most potent, accessible intervention we have.
And when we talked about movement, our sources really emphasize that this isn't just about weight loss.
No, not at all.
It's about fundamentally changing cellular behavior.
Yeah.
And they note that we need to engage both ends of the exercise spectrum. So aerobic and anaerobic.
Absolutely. Regular physical exercise, whether it's aerobic, endurance-based, like brisk walking or cycling, or anaerobic, which is resistance-based, like lifting weights or intense intervals, both promote profound cellular health benefits. Specifically, both types increase mitochondrial content and improve glycemic control.
And the mitochondria are the key.
The mitochondria are the key. They are the cellular engines, and increasing their content means increasing the body's overall capacity to process fuel. More engines, more power.
Can you provide a specific example of how exercise trains this flexibility, even for people later in life?
Certainly. There's one study that focused on middle-aged postmenopausal women, a group that often really struggles with metabolic changes.
Yeah.
They found that endurance training specifically improved the women's ability to mobilize and oxidize free fatty acids. In other words, it trained their bodies to more readily switch over and start burning stored body fat for fuel.
So it proves that even in late middle age, metabolic flexibility is trainable. It's responsive.
Exactly. Exercise isn't just a healthy habit. It is a principal preventive strategy to prolong healthy, functional aging.
I love the simple, practical advice that was hidden in our sources about mitigating those horrible energy dips most of us get, 90 minutes after lunch. It doesn't require a trip to the gym. It's a micro intervention you can do right after a meal.
This is so critical for everyone, especially those of us working sedentary jobs. A short walk, just 15 to 20 minutes, immediately after eating can significantly mitigate those sharp energy and mood dips.
The ones that are often associated with a big blood sugar spike?
That's exactly what it is. By forcing your muscles to work, you immediately provide a destination for the glucose flooding your bloodstream.
You just soaking it up?
You're soaking it up. It improves immediate metabolic control and reduces the insulin load. It's such an easy way to signal to your body, hey, I need to burn this fuel now.
So we train the engine with movement. Beyond that, the next step in retraining the metabolism involves leveraging periods of energetic scarcity,
Right.
which is where dietary restriction and fasting come in. This is where we engage the cellular longevity mechanisms.
This is all about intentionally inducing a mild, necessary stressor that wakes up the body's cleaning and maintenance crews. And we look at two primary tools here: caloric restriction, or CR, and intermittent fasting, or IF.
Okay, so CR.
CR, even without outright malnutrition, is shown to increase health span and, in some cases, lifespan in model organisms. And it consistently improves metabolic health in humans, reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular disease.
And intermittent fasting, IF, works by simulating that same ancient stress without necessarily reducing your total caloric intake over the week.
Precisely. Intermittent fasting, whether it's a time-restricted eating window like a 168 protocol,
Yeah, that's a popular one.
or longer fasting periods, maybe 24 hours once or twice a week, it improves insulin and leptin sensitivity. It forces the body to switch substrates, it reduces adiposity, lowers systemic inflammation, and it initiates the production of ketone bodies, at least in animal models.
And both of them work because they connect directly to the foundational mechanism of aging.
Which is mitochondrial dysfunction.
This sounds like the central thesis of longevity research right now. So tell us more about that mitochondria connection. How are fasting, exercise, and aging all linked through these little powerhouses in our cells?
Well, perturbation of mitochondrial function is considered a hallmark of aging. Think of it this way. Your mitochondria are responsible for creating the vast majority of your cellular energy, ATP, using oxygen.
Mm.
As we age or as we become metabolically inflexible, they become damaged, inefficient, and there are just fewer of them. When your mitochondria aren't working efficiently, your cells start to rely more on the less efficient process of burning sugar called glycolysis.
And that's linked to a lot of bad outcomes.
It's linked to cellular senescent zombie cells and inflammation.
So how does CRIF and exercise fix this problem?
They activate these crucial nutrient and energy sensing pathways. These are the master regulatory switches that tell the cell whether it's time to build and grow or time to repair and conserve.
Okay.
Specifically, they target the insulin IGF pathway, mTOR, which senses abundance,
Right.
and two key longevity pathways, AMPK, which senses scarcity, and sirtuins, which regulate gene expression in response to stress.
So by cycling through abundance and scarcity with fasting and exercise, you keep those pathways responsive.
You keep them responsive, and you drive mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new, healthy mitochondria. That keeps the entire system robust and resilient.
This molecular understanding leads us directly to the world of molecular hacking. Compounds that can mimic the effects of CR and exercise without necessarily the rigid discipline.
Right.
This area is fascinating, but we need to approach it critically.
Absolutely. Let's look at the two key compounds highlighted in our sources that target these exact metabolic pathways. First up is resveratrol.
Resveratrol.
From red wine.
Famously from grapes and red wine, yes. It's a plant-derived polyphenol that's been heavily studied. Its central mechanism is activating AMPK and via SESA1 boosting mitochondrial function, specifically biogenesis, size, and density.
So the idea is that you get the cellular benefits of vigorous exercise or fasting, but in a pill. That's the hope. By activating that AMPK SART1 PGC1 axis, resveratrol essentially prompts the cell to perform maintenance and create more mitochondrial engines. It's a powerful signal for autophagy, that's cellular cleanup mechanisms that are known to extend health span in model organisms.
And what do the human studies show?
The clinical studies have been promising. They suggest it may improve insulin sensitivity and reduce plasma levels of glucose, which is particularly helpful in reversing the early stages of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. The big caveat, though, is that the dose required for humans to achieve the same concentration seen in successful animal studies is often massive.
So bioavailability is an issue.
It's a major issue, which is why research continues.
Okay, the second major pathway involves one of the most popular longevity molecules right now, NAD+, or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. The research here is incredibly exciting.
It really is. NAD+ is non-negotiable for life. It's an essential coenzyme involved in hundreds of metabolic reactions, including DNA repair, signaling, and critically oxidative metabolism within the mitochondria.
And we know its levels just plummet as we age.
They decline naturally and dramatically during aging, both in model systems and in humans. And this decline is thought to be a major driver of age-related failure in key tissues.
And since we can't just ingest NAD+ directly, it's not highly bioavailable, the science focuses on supplying the precursors, the building blocks.
Exactly. We provide the building blocks to boost the body's internal NAD+ synthesis, and the main precursors being pursued in longevity circles are nicotinamide riboside, or NR, and nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN.
So you give the body the raw materials to crank up its own production line.
That's the goal.
And when you successfully boost NAD+ synthesis, what are the observed benefits?
Well, you enhance overall oxidative metabolism, providing more efficient energy production. You activate those vital SIRTs enzymes, which are NAD+ dependent. You see improvements in skeletal muscle function, partly by preventing stem cell senescence, and just overall amelioration of age-related pathophysiology. For instance, in aging mice, NMN administration has been shown to enhance energy metabolism, promote physical activity, and dramatically improve lipid profiles.
It's really about fighting that age-related energy crisis at the cellular level.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Now, tying this back to practical application, it's important to remember that these fancy precursors, they stem from essential, humble vitamins.
Right.
Specifically, B vitamins play an absolutely critical role, especially in preventing sarcopenia, that age-related muscle loss that truly robs you of your 20-something functionality.
This is a crucial pivot back to nutrition basics. We have to highlight nicotinamide, which is B3, and pyridoxine, B6. These are essential micronutrients for the prevention of sarcopenia.
Which is the progressive and often debilitating loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength that happens with aging.
And for the listener focused on maintaining mobility and vitality well into their senior years, maintaining muscle is paramount. It is everything.
So how exactly does B3 support this muscle maintenance?
B3, nicotinamide, is a direct precursor to NAD plus WES. So it supports the very NAD plus metabolism and mitochondrial function we just discussed. If you're deficient in B3, your body can't efficiently manage cellular energy or perform necessary DNA repair, which directly impacts muscle health and recovery.
And B6.
B6, through its active form PLP, is key to amino acid metabolism, the very building blocks of muscle. And it also serves a vital role in antioxidant defense, helping to regulate inflammatory cytokines that can break down muscle tissue.
And the sources stress that ensuring adequate intake of B3 and B6 is crucial, particularly in the elderly population who are the most vulnerable to sarcopenia.
Precisely. As people age, they often face challenges like reduced appetite, changes in gastrointestinal or GI function, or specific dietary restrictions maybe for kidney or cardiovascular health.
Right.
These factors often make achieving optimal B vitamin status difficult through diet alone. And this is one of those cases where supplemental forms may be necessary to ensure the cellular machinery has the components it needs to fight that age-related decline.
That perfectly bridges our discussion into the next major section. Recognizing that even if you eat the perfect-looking meal, if your body cannot effectively liberate and absorb the nutrients, you are functionally starving your cellular machinery.
Yes.
We have to talk about the bioavailability gap.
Yeah.
Okay, let's establish the key insight right away, because this flips traditional nutritional advice on its head.
It really does.
The core idea here is you can eat a diet that looks perfect on paper, listing all the right vitamins and minerals, and still be functionally starving at the cellular level because of the bioavailability gap.
That is the tragic reality of the modern diet. Bioavailability is defined as the proportion of an ingested nutrient that is absorbed from the GI tract and then becomes available for metabolic functions or storage.
So it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb.
It's what you absorb and can use. The simple listing of milligrams on a food label is often dangerously oversimplified because it ignores whether your body can actually extract and use that nutrient. Bioavailability is highly limited and tremendously variable between different food sources.
This variability leads directly to one of the most important and often contentious debates in nutrition. The difference in efficacy between animal-sourced foods, ASF, and plant-sourced foods, PSF. What does the comparative data tell us about absorption rates?
When you look at the data, a very clear pattern emerges. Animal-sourced foods generally contain vitamins and minerals that are significantly more bioavailable than those found in plants.
Okay.
In fact, for a few critical nutrients, ASFs are the almost exclusive natural source. The most famous example is vitamin B12.
Essential for nerve function, blood cell formation.
All of it. It is 65% bioavailable from animal sources, and it is almost non-existent in natural, unfortified plant sources.
What about the crucial fat-soluble vitamins we need for hormone health and immunity, like vitamin A?
Great example. Plants contain what are called provitamin A carotenoids, like G-carotene. These must be converted into the usable form, which is retinol.
And that conversion is not very efficient.
It's highly inefficient. A fake carotene is only about 15.6% bioavailable. Now contrast that with preformed vitamin A retinol from animal sources like liver or eggs, which is 74% bioavailable.
Wow. So you are getting nearly 5 times the usable nutrient with far less effort from the body.
Exactly.
And other essential B vitamins show a consistently high absorption rate from ASF as well, correct?
They do. When you look at the percentage of nutrient absorption from animal sources, the numbers are just robust. Biotin is 89%, thiamine is 82%, vitamin B6 is 83%, and even folate is 67%.
These numbers represent efficiency.
Pure efficiency. If you are consuming a variety of animal products, you have a much higher confidence level that the nutrient is actually reaching the cells that need it.
So why do plant-sourced foods, despite often listing high raw nutrient content on the label, frequently fall short in delivering those nutrients? What are the mechanisms that are preventing absorption?
There are two main overlapping challenges. The first involves what we call anti-nutrients. Yeah. PSF bioavailability is often reduced because the nutrients are chemically bound up by components the plant uses for its own defense or structure. We're talking primarily about phytates and fiber, which are especially prominent in whole grains, seeds, and legumes.
Can you give us an analogy for this anti-nutrient effect? What's it doing?
Think of anti-nutrients as tiny nutritional roadblocks or chemical handcuffs.
Okay.
Phytates, for instance, are storage forms of phosphorus in seeds. They strongly chelate, which means they bind to divalent cations like iron, zinc, and magnesium.
So they just grab onto them.
They grab on and they don't let go. Once bound, these crucial minerals cannot be released or absorbed by the human digestive system. They just pass straight through.
And you see a similar thing with calcium in leafy greens.
Exactly. Oxalates, which are common in foods like spinach, bind calcium into insoluble calcium oxalate complexes. This means you could be eating calcium-rich spinach, but the oxalates are essentially locking up a large portion of that calcium, rendering it totally useless to you.
That dramatically complicates the advice to just eat more vegetables. It's not that simple.
Not at all.
And the second challenge, as we mentioned earlier, is inefficient conversion.
Yes. Besides the vitamin A example, we also see this in vitamin K. Plants provide vitamin K1, or phylloquinone, which has poor and variable bioavailability, often less than 20%.
And the form our body really wants is K2.
The form most readily utilized by the body for bone health and cardiovascular health is K2, which is often found in fermented foods or animal sources. Researchers are constantly trying to devise new delivery systems like nanocapsules just to improve the absorption of K1 from plants.
Which tells you how problematic the natural bioavailability is to begin with.
Exactly.
This analysis of bioavailability leads us directly to the crucial data point for the average American listener. The priority nutrients that the U.S. population is consistently failing to consume adequately,
Right.
which is directly contributing to chronic disease risk and accelerated aging.
This is arguably the most important data from our sources. We are not talking about exotic deficiencies here. We are talking about foundational building blocks. The data shows certain nutrients exhibit inadequacy rates exceeding 90% across different life stages in the U.S. population.
90% inadequacy, that is staggering. Which top 3 nutrients are nearly everyone missing?
The top 3 priority nutrients where intake is critically insufficient are dietary fiber, vitamin D, and choline.
Okay.
Dietary fiber is essential for gut health and cardiovascular function, yet 9 out of 10 people don't get enough. Vitamin D inadequacy is rampant due to lack of sun exposure, and it's essential for bone health, immune function, and metabolic regulation.
And choline is one that's often overlooked.
Massively overlooked, but it's critical for brain health, cell membrane integrity, and liver metabolism.
And what are the other high-priority nutrients that are commonly consumed inadequately?
We also see pervasive issues with vitamin E, calcium, and magnesium. The inadequate consumption of all these essential nutrients plays a direct role in the prevention and management of diet-related diseases that compromise health in later life.
And this problem is just made worse by processed foods.
Profoundly exacerbated. And also by certain restrictive diets that remove the most bioavailable sources of certain vitamins, like B12 deficiencies seen in strict plant-based diets for people managing conditions like chronic kidney disease.
So if nutrient density and superior bioavailability are the goals, and they have to be if you want a 30-something operating system, what is the single best food intervention we can make to correct several of these deficiencies simultaneously?
The sources strongly point to incorporating ruminant meat and organs, specifically increasing the intake of beef liver.
Beef liver. This might sound old school to some people.
It is old school, but it's the ultimate nutritional insurance policy. Beef liver ensures adequate, highly bioavailable intake of key nutrients like B12, iron, and that preformed vitamin A retinol we talked about.
It sounds like a natural, whole food multivitamin tablet.
It truly is a superfood in terms of concentration and accessibility. And beyond the high concentration of B vitamins and vitamin A, beef liver is an exceptional source of copper.
Okay, why is copper important?
Copper is an essential trace mineral necessary for maintaining healthy blood vessels, the nervous system, and the immune system. Adequate copper intake is being increasingly studied for its potential role in avoiding cardiovascular disease and neurodegenerative issues like Alzheimer's.
So the strategy for biooptimization has to prioritize these dense, highly absorbable sources to bridge these massive nutrient gaps in the modern diet.
You have to.
That makes perfect sense. First, we clear the metabolic gridlock. Second, we train the system with movement and fasting. And third, we ensure the best possible fuel delivery by focusing on density and bioavailability.
Right.
Now, let's apply these concepts by comparing some popular dietary blueprints. Which diet supports the most effective, sustainable long-term health?
Okay, so once people understand the need for metabolic flexibility and bioavailable nutrients, they often seek a ready-made dietary plan,
A blueprint.
a blueprint. And that typically leads us to these highly restrictive trends like the paleo diet and the even more extreme carnivore approach.
Let's start with paleo. What are the fundamentals and why does it appeal to those who are seeking biooptimization?
Well, the paleo diet appeals because it's based on evolutionary theory. It aims to emulate the eating habits of hunter-gatherers during the Paleolithic era.
So what does that mean in practice?
It emphasizes lean meats, fish, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, while strictly excluding processed foods, grains, legumes, and dairy products.
And proponents correctly point out that eliminating processed food reduces inflammation.
And it often leads to weight loss because the diet is inherently nutrient-dense and high in protein and fiber. It has a lot of good principles.
However, the carnivore diet pushes this restriction to a dangerous extreme.
It does. The carnivore diet is drastically restrictive. It's limited solely to meat, fish, eggs, and sometimes some dairy, completely excluding all plant matter.
No fruits, no vegetables.
Nothing. It is extremely high in protein and saturated fats, and consequently, it's virtually devoid of fiber, polyphenols, and many phytonutrients.
And while proponents often report anecdotal benefits like rapid weight loss and improvements in blood sugar or inflammation,
The scientific evidence for its long-term safety and sustainability is very, very limited. The data we have relies heavily on self-reported patient surveys, which lack the rigorous medical verification necessary for strong public health recommendations.
right, and the reliance on massive amounts of animal products, particularly red meat and high saturated fat, comes with some significant critical risks that we have to address.
We have three major concerns outlined in the sources regarding these extreme high animal protein diets. The first is a heightened cardiovascular risk.
Okay.
These diets, particularly the high saturated fat variety like carnivore, are known to raise total and LDL cholesterol levels.
And we've already established that LDL accumulation is the primary driver of atherosclerosis.
Right. And then eliminating plant fiber also removes a crucial mechanism for clearing LDL cholesterol because soluble fiber binds to bile acids, which contain cholesterol, and escorts them out of the body.
So you're removing a major defensive mechanism while increasing the harmful intake.
Exactly. It's a double whammy.
What about the frequently cited link to cancer risk?
That is the second major concern. A diet consistently high in red and processed meats has been linked by major health organizations to an increased risk of colon and rectal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And while the exact mechanisms are complex, it involves high heat cooking and potential compounds produced during meat digestion, the correlation is robust enough to warrant caution, especially when meat is the overwhelming majority of the diet.
And finally, the stress on the filtration system, the kidneys.
High consumption of animal protein imposes a significantly higher metabolic load on the kidneys. They have to process all the nitrogenous waste products like urea that result from protein breakdown.
And that constant high load can stress the kidneys.
It can, making it a particularly risky diet for individuals who may already have pre-existing undiagnosed kidney issues, which is actually pretty common in older or metabolically dysfunctional populations.
There's also the fundamental issue of what's missing. The nutritional components that only come from the plant kingdom and are essential for fighting the very inflammation these diets claim to solve.
Precisely. Restrictive diets that exclude all plant matter are devoid of crucial bioactive compounds, polyphenols and flavonoids.
Okay.
These are plant-derived molecules that function as potent antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents in the human body. They don't just act as simple antioxidants, they modulate crucial signaling pathways linked to immune function and cellular longevity.
So what does a diet rich in polyphenols do for you?
Regular consumption of polyphenol-rich foods is linked to a reduced risk of cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and neurodegenerative disorders. By completely excluding them, you are willingly bypassing a core component of the human defense system against oxidative stress.
Given those significant risks and the obvious nutrient gaps, what's the alternative blueprint? The pattern that has been consistently proven through decades of research to support long-term health, sustainability, and chronic disease management.
That would be the Mediterranean diet. It is arguably the most supported dietary pattern globally. It has consistently been shown to promote the prevention and management of chronic diseases through its inherent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory mechanisms.
And those mechanisms rely heavily on inclusion, not exclusion.
Exactly, inclusion of a wide variety of foods.
So how does the Mediterranean diet achieve this without the extreme restriction?
It's a philosophy of balance and variety centered around whole, minimally processed foods. It includes a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and healthy fats, primarily olive oil.
And what about animal protein?
Animal protein is present fish, poultry, but it's often consumed in moderation compared to the standard American or carnivore approach. And red meat is typically reserved for special occasions. It is predominantly plant-based.
Which also aligns with sustainability goals.
It does. By promoting seasonal and local food sourcing and supporting minimal food waste, an important consideration for comprehensive long-term health planning.
Let's focus on the role of fiber here, since its inadequacy rate is over 90% in the U.S. diet. How does the inclusion of high-fiber whole foods in the Mediterranean diet tangibly support longevity?
Fiber is a metabolic miracle worker, and its benefits are multifaceted. You have soluble fiber, found in oats, beans, and certain fruits. This fiber dissolves in water to form a gel-like substance in the gut, which is critical for lowering bad cholesterol levels, the LDL, by binding to it and aiding its excretion.
So that directly reduces the risk of heart disease.
Directly. Then you have insoluble fiber, which is in whole grains and vegetable skins. This adds bulk to the stool, aids digestion, and prevents constipation, ensuring optimal gut transit time. By integrating both types, the Mediterranean diet provides a comprehensive digestive and cardiovascular defense that these restrictive low-fiber diets simply cannot match.
So what's the ultimate takeaway for the listener trying to bio-optimize their body for functional 30-something health? It sounds like sustainability and comprehensive nutrient inclusion are the keys to longevity rather than maximal restriction.
Absolutely. The key takeaway is that a gradual, balanced, and varied lifestyle change is far more sustainable and beneficial than adopting drastically restrictive, trendy diets. While focusing on high-quality, bioavailable nutrients like those found in organ meats is critical, that should be integrated into a broad, balanced pattern rich in fiber and phytonutrients. Longevity is a marathon, not a sprint, and crash diets rarely lead to sustained high performance.
This has truly been a deep dive into how to reset the body's operating system for functional, vibrant health. To summarize the two core pillars for achieving and maintaining that functional 30-something vitality, it really comes down to fuel management and nutrient quality.
That's it. First, fuel management and metabolic training. Prioritize metabolic flexibility by actively training your body through regular movement, both aerobic and resistance training.
Right.
And leverage periods of energetic scarcity, whether that's through intermittent fasting or mild caloric restriction. Crucially, strictly limit those highly lipogenic fuels, especially concentrated liquid fructose, to reduce the strain on your liver and prevent that metabolic gridlock.
And second, nutrient quality and bioavailability.
Yeah.
You have to stop obsessing over simple calorie counts and focus intensely on density and absorption.
Yes.
This means understanding the bioavailability gap, that animal-sourced foods offer superior absorption of many key vitamins, especially B12 and preformed vitamin A. And you must strategically address the widespread inadequacies in the U.S. population for those priority nutrients: dietary fiber, vitamin D, choline, vitamin E, calcium, and magnesium.
If you can master those two pillars, fuel quality management and metabolic responsiveness, you are not just surviving, you are actively building a robust, long-term foundation for years of functional health and vitality.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider as you rethink your personalized healthy aging strategy. We've established that reducing overall calories and exercising regularly are the principal preventive strategies against aging, and that achieving optimal nutrient status is non-negotiable.
Right.
However, as we age, one of the challenges we face is that the body's machinery itself starts to decline. Specifically, the elderly exhibit a reduced ability to absorb many crucial vitamins due to changes in GI function and acid production.
This physiological reality forces us to reevaluate the traditional hierarchy of whole foods first. Considering this reduced absorption capacity with age and the fact that certain vitamin fortifications or supplemental forms can be designed for maximal absorption, often bypassing the GI hurdles, how should we reevaluate the utility of nutrient-dense whole foods versus potentially more bioavailable supplemental forms?
Because the research notes that vitamins added to foods or taken as supplements are often at least as bioavailable as, and frequently more so than, those nutrients endogenously found in the original complex whole food matrix. So in the race against age-related decline, does superior absorption from a highly available supplement occasionally trump the ideal of a whole food source? That's something to actively chew on as you build your personalized blueprint for long-term vitality.
Until the next deep dive.